Now tell us about, okay, you just said you started at Central Michigan, played. What position were you playing, and what happened? Why was that, you're playing at Central Michigan, things are going well, you guys win the MAC. Why all of a sudden now you want to transfer to Wisconsin?
Well, I was playing tight end at Central Michigan, and obviously my dream is playing the NFL. It's every kid's dream to play in the NFL.
So you're playing tight end there?
I was playing tight end in the spread offense, which is not, I caught 8 passes all year. So I wasn't going to the NFL playing tight end.
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to have that go big or go home mentality. And so I decided to transfer to Wisconsin. That was really the only place I wanted to transfer to. I wasn't looking anywhere else. It was my one final shot, like, hey, if I'm going to try and do this, I'm going to try and do it all out. I'm going to make this big gamble. And my parents supported me. They were willing to pay that tuition for 1 year. I told them I'd get a scholarship after a year, stop playing football. And it was a big, big gamble, but obviously it paid off, and I'm very fast.
And obviously, Coach Brett Bielema, I've had a chance to meet him a few times. I think he's a hell of a coach. How does a Navy SEAL, obviously you're not, I don't want to stereotype, just, oh, we're going to grunt and we're going to do it. Obviously you always had movie or TV aspirations. You love the industry kind of. How did that work into it, and how did that all come about?
Well, I'm big at keeping my word with myself. If I say I want to do something, I want to do it and keep my word. And what happened was I was in junior high school, and I ran into a buddy who, my best friend, made short films. His name is John Tebow. And John Tebow made really good films. I was in special ed. He was in the gifted program. It seemed like a perfect match. And so
play off of each other.
Exactly. And he got me out of all my school, all the classes, which probably helped me get on special ed. But, we started making these short films, and we started showing them to other junior highs. And we started getting kind of a reputation for doing that stuff. And John had a big project that he wanted to do. It was really ambitious, and we started working and making short films, and eventually that short film, actually, when we were in junior high school, was nominated for the Cinemagic. At that time, it was a really big magazine for independent filmmakers, and then it went all the way up to New York. We won a national prize. We beat out all these college kids, Isaac Asimov, Tom Savini, and then Spielberg actually wrote us a letter. And so I've always wanted to I've always kept that in mind. After SEAL Team, after doing everything, trying to make that next jump, what was it going to be? And then I just said, you know what? I've always said I wanted to do this. Let's go make it happen.
Now let's talk a little big picture here. College athletics, realignment going on, a lot of moving around. Where do you see the college football landscape in 5 years?
I think the 4 super conferences are inevitable, and I think you'll see it before the 5-year time frame. Now, a lot of fingers can be pointed at Texas A&M, but Texas A&M felt that they were in a position of they had to move first. And they took some criticism early on, but I think as you can see now, 2 or 3 weeks after the move, you can see that Texas A&M actually took a preemptive strike. The SEC versus the Pac-12. We talked a little bit about the Pac-12 and the Pac-16, but it comes down to dollars. Texas A&M is sharing from the Big 12 anywhere between $10 to $15 million a year. Going to the SEC, they're going to share well over $35 to $40 million. Wow. When you look at the Pac-12, right now the Pac-12 is sharing $35 million. So with the addition of an Oklahoma, with the addition of a Texas, that revenue is going to go up. And make no mistake about it, all of it is about dollars and a lot of dollars.
Unfortunately, I guess it's always about that no matter what level you're at. We've kind of mapped out your day, but let's take it back a little bit. Now, when you were coming up, what did you want to do? Is this something that was always intrigued you, the radio, the DJing? What were your kind of aspirations? How did this all happen?
A failed rock star. I mean, it's easy.
Do you see that a lot with other people in your profession? I mean, is that like...
In some cases, yeah. I mean, for me, I played in bands all in high school. I was a musician. I played the drums, and I was in goofy bands, and we thought we were much better than we really were. And I had the mullet and the bad hair and everything. And at some point in the band, we traveled around a little bit. We played a lot in Canada because I'm from Buffalo. And we did interviews, went to radio stations, and I thought that was kind of cool. So at the time that I realized that our band kind of sucked and everybody else thought we were better, we all wanted to move. Well, 3 of the 4, me being the one that didn't, we're talking about moving to Los Angeles and going out and hanging out with Motley Crue and Rat and Poison and everybody. And I said,
You along with every other budding rock stars, right?
Correct. And I'm like, you know what? No, we're going to skip that. I'm going to quit. I went to school and I said, well, if I can't be interviewed, I'm going to be the guy that interviews bands. that really was how the radio thing happened. You know, we visited a few radio stations. I thought it seemed cool. I'm like, the guys seem like, okay, you know, you can still kind of dress like a bum and go to work. I'm like, that's for me.
That's what you wanted
Yeah.
to do.
So that was basically how it came about.
Do you feel like over the last 10 years or so that the NFL has risen to new heights? That it's been bigger than it's ever
Without
been?
a doubt. Every year it goes up. Look at the TV ratings.
But not just that, but
revenue.
the feeling you get from the people watching it and I know we live in a pro city, but even when I go back to Midland or talk to people that don't have necessarily a team per se or have any local rooting interest, it feels like people are watching the NFL games much more, because I felt like at some point there was the college football and pro football were kind of even. Now I don't. Now I feel like more people watch pro football now than ever before.
More people watch pro football than watch all the other sports combined, if you look at the ratings. And I think fantasy football has brought a lot of people
I do too.
into, like women, guys that didn't really care about it. I know people couldn't tell you who's playing on Sunday, the teams, but they've got a fantasy football team, and they're fascinated by it. And I think that's one of the greatest things. And the NFL can never admit this, but they know how much popularity y'all get from gambling. If there's 10 million wagered legally in Vegas on the NFL, think about what's wagered illegally. And so the popularity just continues to grow. And then it's almost like the lockout. It was almost like a marketing ploy by the players and the owners to get people even more fired up. So college football grows as well. Football in general just dwarfs the other sports.
It really has. Where are you at in 5 years? Where do you want to be at in 5 years?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. I would love to still be doing shows on cruise ships, but I would also like to be doing some sort of headlining theater tour where people knew who I was. I could sell some tickets, Like that would be
Someone opening for you.
Yeah,
That's
someone
where you
opening
want to
for
be.
me. I toured.
Someone opening for you.
Well, it's interesting because you had a lot of individual things that happened to you when you were a high school player, like a top. According to Tom Lemming, it says you were number 11 prospect in the nation, things like that. And you get a little embarrassed, I say something like that, but you will brag about the state championships and the team stuff. Of course, right? It's much easier to talk about that stuff.
It is.
Like you're not going to come out and say, I was two-time All-State.
Because, that's the great thing about football. In basketball, you can have a point guard that dominates a game or a post player that clearly is the reason why, in other sports, you can have a pitcher that goes out and clearly throws a one-hitter and he's the reason they won. In football, it's so hard to be that guy. It's so hard to be a guy that if it wasn't, you could put 10 other guys on that field with you and you're going to win everything. It doesn't happen in football. And so when people throw those things at me, it's nice to hear. It's nice to be a part of that, but you realize what went into it. You realize what it took to win it. And like I said, growing up with those guys, knowing the sacrifice we all put in to do that, obviously there were some players that were better than others. We had Cedric Benson, who was maybe the greatest Texas high school running back ever.
Right.
So you've bounced around the minor leagues quite a bit, huh?
I always tell guys, like, every guy on every team, I feel like I know every single player in this league who I played with. I played on, 11 teams?
What's that been like? I mean, how's that? I mean, obviously, people don't realize how tough it is on families. You'd say you're just...
No,
you're single.
I'm Derek Jeter.
There you
I
go.
decided
There you go.
I didn't want to...
Lofty goals there.
Yes.
Lofty goals, Derek Jeter.
After I'm done playing.
You better...
no, it's different, but at the same time, there's just...
That list better be something serious.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I've been a suitcase. We call it a suitcase.
Yeah.
I played on 11 teams, and it's tough, but I like to travel and I like to meet new people. And for me, it's been a great experience. Like not knowing where you're going to be next year for a lot of people would give them anxiety. For me, it's exciting for me.